just want to say thanks to everybody who's joining us and going to be joining us. I'm Dolly Wolf, and I'm the founder and president of One Day Immersion in Media, Entertainment, and Technology. That's our big college conference, as well as our online series. It's my great pleasure to have you here, and thank you so much for spending time with us today on Monday. I think we're all hearing Brian's wisdom and insight. We love recruiting people like Brian into this program, because we are looking for the brightest and most talented and just folks that are connected into giving back, kind of have that mentoring heart. So he's perfect. He's perfect for this. And then to have the background as, a producer is phenomenal, because honestly, we haven't had that conversation yet. So we're excited about that. As some of you know, Brian is co-president of Emerald Elephant Entertainment and also serves in the military. So Brian, thank you so much again for your service. As somebody who grew up with a father and brother in the military, I thank you. I know the sacrifices that are all around that. So his talk today, again, is around producing. I can't wait to hear. So let's just give the floor to Brian. Please welcome Brian McLaughlin to the series.
Well, thank you, everyone. And thank you to Dolly, and thank you to Evan Shapiro and to One Day Immersion for inviting me to speak today, and to all of you for your interest and your time. And I really appreciate that. I'm not that as familiar with Google Meets, but there will be time either at the end or throughout whatever Dolly decides for each particular question for you to ask questions. So feel free to go to the chat feature, which I think is in the upper right. There's like a little text symbol there, and Dolly will be monitoring those. Don't be offended if we save it to the end, because it'll just be a matter of how she decides it fits with the current conversation. So I am going to share my screen, share my presentation, a window. So I get asked all the time what producers do, and even from experienced film people. So it's always fun to explain. Today I'm going to talk about the soft skills, though, less of the technical stuff and more about the people skills, the mental things. These are the topics that I'll be covering. So I will just keep moving into them. But there's one that's not on there, and that's who am I. Dolly mentioned a little bit, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I'm just going to quickly put it up here. That you can see I've been a film producer full-time since 2005, so 15 years. 2 of my films are on Amazon Prime Video, which I only found out about a year ago, which was, but they've been up there since like 2013 or something. I'm very involved in the Producers Guild. I really enjoy that organization. Much of the stuff I'm going to be talking about today is from my producing, but also from my teaching and also from my military background that you can see there. So first of all, I'm just going to talk in general about the producer's role. I think that's all of them. Yes, it is. Okay, so the producer is, and I'm just going to give like a really broad description, because there's so much involved in the producer's job. But basically, the producer is the CEO, the project manager. It's the person responsible for the whole film. And I'm mostly going to talk about film, but a lot of this relates to TV too. But they have different titles than in film, so I just want to not confuse things by talking about film. So from basically from cradle to grave, from coming up with the idea for the project to the last dollars being distributed to the investors, the producer is responsible for that. All the business stuff and all the creative, many of the creative things. The director certainly leads the creative side, but the producer picks the project. Well, first on the business side, acquires the rights to a script or to a book or life rights. Then gets the funding. Maybe there's a business plan involved, certainly a pitch deck, and then who on the creative side, who are the and selling on the business side, selling it to a distributor and managing the money flow all the time, and the budgets and the schedule. And then on the creative side, it's like, what is the best director for this film? Which is not as easy as it may sound. And also, who are the best actors? Not just in terms of how the quality of their acting, but also, are they a fit for the role, or will they help the film succeed? So there's a lot of that, and the script, developing the script, and at production, there can be business, and logistic, and creative things that have to be decided. So all of that goes into being the producer, and all of this happens usually on multiple projects at once, because the typical producer has about 7 films in production, and there's a wide variety in that. But if you're going to succeed as a producer, you're going to have a lot more than one film. So all this work is multiplied by however many films you have. Okay, so that's. But like I said, I'm going to talk mainly about the soft skills, and a big part of that is attitude, because the producer is the one. Is that the last one? I think it's the last one. Is the one whose attitude is because that person is in charge. That attitude is going to flow from the top down all the way through the project, particularly during production. But even at the beginning, when you're going through development of the script or you're attaching a director, the attitude of the producer is going to affect all of that. In the very first Producers Guild conference, the Produced By conference, Clint Eastwood was one of the speakers, and he the one thing that stuck with me, I mean, many things he said stuck with me, but one of them, the biggest ones, is that confidence inspires confidence. So the person at the top, if that person is confident about how well the project is going to go, or how well the shoot day is going to go, or the stunt is going to go, whatever it happens to be, then everyone will be confident about it, and the likelihood of it going well will be so much more increased. I think those of you who have worked in film have seen times when it was a fairly simple shoot day, but the lead person, whether that's producer or director, was frantic or not confident, and the whole day did not go well, or the whole project. I was on one project in which I was not the producer, but people were quitting, like from day to day, people were quitting because of the attitude of the top person. And so, but let's look at the more positive side. I've also seen days when there was a 10-page shoot, which is a lot, and everyone could have been like, oh, how are we going to get it done? But the producer walked in, okay, let's make this happen. It's going to be a great day, and everything went well. So confidence inspires confidence, and related to that is positivity. You just have to have a really positive attitude just throughout your career. If you didn't have positivity, you probably wouldn't be in this job, because it really requires belief that it's going to work out. Why would I be doing this if I thought it wouldn't happen? Because it takes so long. It really has to be a long-term positivity. And people will want to work with you when they feel that positive attitude. People will want to fund your project when they love your positivity. Directors, actors are going to want to work for you. Even a PA is going to want, which is a production assistant, pretty much the lowest job on the set, is going to want to work harder for you with the positivity that they feel from you. So stay very positive. And believe in everything. Listen to your brain, believe your heart. I originally had put just listen to your heart, and Penelope, my producing partner, said, your brain is important too. And it is, because your brain is smart, and your brain will keep you alive, really. Your brain will protect you. But on the other hand, so it keeps you alive, but you want to have a life that you enjoy, and that's where your heart and your gut come in. Your heart will tell you what you're passionate about, what you really live a fuller life with, what you need to live a fuller life. So your gut knows where your passion is, your heart knows where your passion is, and that's what we really look for, all of us who want to get into the film industry, or really in any entrepreneurial business. Your heart is what drives you. So listen to your heart, and don't be, every person we admire, every big success that we know about is someone who took a chance and didn't just do the smart and the safe thing, but leapt into something they were passionate about. So that's where your heart comes into play. But listen to your brain sometimes. You don't have to be better than everyone. You just have to be your best. I mean, too often we get in the trap of comparing ourselves to other people. We see someone else got a film funded, or won an Academy Award, or just had a great meeting that they post on Facebook. I had a great meeting, or I have an audition tomorrow. And there can be this tendency to be jealous and think, oh, why am I not having that great meeting or getting my phone funded? But no, we should celebrate. We should be happy for them and say, yeah, they're doing great, and I'm doing great for myself, and I'm gonna be inspired by their success to do better for me also, and then they'll be happy for me just as I was happy for them. So don't compare yourself to other people. Just do your best, and your best is really going to carry you forward. And along that line, related to that is don't look for shortcuts. I've been in many events where a speaker was asked by someone in the audience, knowing what you know now, what can you tell us to get us to your place faster? And it's not about fast. I mean, sure, we want to succeed as quickly as possible, but every day we learn something and we become better. Every year we've learned more and we've become better. We've made more connections, and we're just better producers as time goes on. And if we jump to the top and are given a 30 million project to do, I mean, I'm not just saying we wouldn't do well, but we would do better if we had learned over 5-10 years more stuff than just getting it that day. So I moved to LA about 8 years ago, and I got a lot of interviews for VP level jobs about that level. There was a range, but mostly at the VP level. And had I gotten those jobs, I think I would have done very well. But if I had gotten those jobs, if I get those jobs today, let's say someone called me up tomorrow and said, hey, we want you to be a VP at Warner Brothers, I will do a much better job today because I've learned so much in the meantime. I've met more people. I just have become a better performer, I guess. And so the shortcuts are really go the long way, learn more, just develop, do it faster, sure, but take all those steps and learn along the way. And in line with that is also enjoy the journey. People will say, how do you know when you've made it? Well, we've always made it. And then on the other hand, we've never made it, because you're always going to want more once you get to a certain level, which is good. I mean, we should want to keep going further. But every day we can look back a year ago and say, well, look, I'm farther or stronger or smarter, whatever, than I was a year ago. So I've made it this far. So enjoy every day, because you've always made it. You've always arrived, and you're just going to arrive somewhere else in the future. So keep it up. Another part of a winner's attitude. Oh, there's one. Oh, there's one more. Yeah, there's a good one that I just added recently. Want what you don't want, and that means a lot of times things come to us and we think, that's not what I wanted. But very often those will turn out to be something better for us. For example, my first job in the Army was as a platoon leader, and the first day the company commander said to me, I'm giving you the worst platoon. And that doesn't sound like good news, because I'd rather have the best platoon and just do well with that. But the worst platoon is where I had the opportunity to show improvement, to really show what I could do. Whereas the best platoon is really, I could only go down from there. So I was able to really make a better mark by doing something good with the worst platoon. And another time I was in a job and they gave me a new task that someone else had been doing. And I was like, this is like a thankless task that took like 2 extra hours a day. And it was, it was just something I didn't want. And then, but I took it over and I put in the work. And a week later, the top people in the company suddenly started focusing on that. And they turned to me for good information every day and from this one job. And it put me in the spotlight in a positive way. So things that sometimes don't look good could be some of the best things for us. Excuse me. All right. With attitude, perseverance is one of the biggest things for producers. Of all the jobs in the industry, producers are the ones who require the most determination, because it takes a long time between paychecks. If you exclude day jobs and gigs, we only get paid when we get a film financed, and so that can take years. And so we have to just keep persevering. The good thing is that and this was pointed out to me early on with one of my first mentors in the industry. He was this huge business guy. He was on the board of directors of MGM, for example, and he met with me and said, perseverance is what the biggest determiner of success in this industry, and I know you'll make it because you have that perseverance. And it was funny because at the time I was thinking, he barely knows me. I mean, we knew each other. We'd worked together for several days, but he didn't know me that well. I thought, wow, what is that about? But he saw something, and it just motivated me because of his belief in me to keep going, and it still does to this day, and that was 15 years ago. So the good thing is also that you decide if you'll succeed. As long as you stay in this job, in this profession, in this industry, you will find some level of success. You'll be able to make a career out of this. So if you choose to stick with it, then you're choosing to succeed. And anytime there's another one. Anytime someone says no, which will happen, most likely, I mean, hopefully you never are told no, but chances are you'll hear no. And all that means is not that, it doesn't mean that you're not good or your project's not good. It just means that it's not a fit for that person at that time. Oh, there might be one more bullet. There's another bullet. So you only need one person to say yes. So that person said no, cool. That means it's not a right fit for that person. Let's find the person that is the right fit for, and when it's the right fit, because sometimes it just means not now. There are so many projects right now that are coming to the screen that would not have worked 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but because of changes in society and in the industry, they work now. So you only need one yes, and it's going to come. We in the last month have gotten no's from 2 big companies that would have been great for our projects, but I knew they weren't perfect fits, and so it doesn't bother me. We will find the right fit. Another big part of our job as producers is to be leaders. And here are some keys, and this is like a full course, and so I'm going to go through it quickly. This is a course that Tricia was in with me, but this is a summation of it. Biggest things about leadership: you have to have integrity. You can never be caught. I mean, just never do this. You never lie. You can't cheat. You have to come through on your promises. That's what leaders are required to do. Decisiveness is so important. The producer has to pick the script, has to decide, we're going to do this project or not. Pick the director, pick the cast. On the set, on the day, there'll be decisions that have to be made like that, and that is your job, to make informed and fairly quick decisions. Have a very sincere, genuine concern for your subordinates. People will work harder for you when they know, and they'll be more loyal to you when you know when they know you genuinely care about them. And there are many ways to show that every day. And so, yes, you got to care about the project, but the workers make it happen. So care about them. You have to have some level of confidence. That doesn't mean you have to be the expert on everything. It just means that you have to know enough to be able to make informed decisions. You hire people who are experts, but I've read so many books and gone to so many workshops on all aspects of the industry so that I can be competent, passively competent, and competent in all areas. You have to communicate effectively, give all the information out to people so they can do their jobs. Some people like to hoard information, but an effective leader will share that, and will do it maybe not constantly, but on a regular basis, so that people know, are we on schedule? Are we doing well? What's going on, basically. Delegation. You have to share work with other people. Don't do it all yourself. Let other people take on more responsibility within their job description, because you don't want to take advantage of people, but that helps them develop as workers and move up to whatever their next level is. Give them guidance, but then trust them. Don't be a micromanager, but do check on it, because that's another way of showing not distrust, but respect, that you care enough about that job you've asked them to do that you're going to follow up with them on it. And then give them credit for when they do well, both individually, like person to person, but also in front of people. Say, hey, look what Tricia did today. Look what Anne-Marie did. They did a great job today. I want to give them a round of applause. And finally, humor is very important to me anyway. It's not for everyone, but for me, I feel like humor lightens the burden of everybody and makes it all easier to work. But that just depends on your style. Okay, how do you choose your project? A really big thing for producers. Well, it has to be something. One more? Yeah. It has to be something that will keep your interest for a long time, because the average film takes, probably 10 years to get to screen from when you first think about it. So pick something you'll stay interested in. For some of you, that's half your current life, or more. So think about what you were interested in 10 years ago. Will you still be interested in this thing in 10 years? You just can't, if it's something you just can't stop thinking about, then probably it's a good project for you. Something the audience will care about. I mean, there are so many great stories out there that are, amazing, but does anybody really care? And I hate to say it like that, but it's the truth. And people have pitched to me these films that, yeah, they're great stories, but you've already told me everything I want to know about it. So, I mean, there have to be some universal themes like love, survival, overcoming obstacles, self-respect, things like that that everyone can relate to and will remember after they left the theater. And then once you've picked the project, keep improving it. Don't send it out until you know it's your best. Scrutinize every line, every scene, every character to make sure they're the best. And Penelope and I, we go through close to 20 rewrites on every project to make sure we get it to that level before we start sending it out to directors, actors, financiers. So, and to get there, you have to demand from the people who are giving you feedback some tough love. So it's, yeah, it feels great when somebody says, oh, I love that. Don't change a thing. Okay, but that doesn't help you make it better. And you really want to hear, yeah, but how did this scene work for you? And what did you think about this character? And they'll say, oh, yeah, not so much. That's when you can improve it, when you get that kind of feedback. So ask for that tough love. And that's one thing that I value in Penelope, is that she is honest with me about that, and then I am to her. So we work really well together in that way. Huge thing for producers, and actually for most people in the industry. I think that's the last one. This one. Yes. Okay. I should have set these up so all the bullets appear at once, and I wanted to figure it out. But anyway, so how do you build a network? People say, I just came to LA. I don't know anybody. What do I do? Well, you reach out to people. You request meetings with anyone that you think is doing a great job and is succeeding, and you want to learn from them, or maybe offer your services to them. What can you give to them? So when I first came to LA, I wrote to 20 people literally every week, emailed them, and emailed another 20 and another 20 after that, like producers I wanted to meet with, executives I wanted to meet with, and then followed up with them a couple weeks later and say, hey, just want to see when you can get together. Attend every possible event like this. Attending this, although it's hard to network by Google Meetup or Zoom or whatever, but when we get back to real life, go to every event and meet the speakers that you went to see. Follow up with them by email. Talk to everyone around you, because they're all involved in the industry in some way generally. Volunteer, whether it's working for a friend as a PA or volunteering at an event like this. When we have live speaking events, many of my I volunteer to help friends on the events that they organize. I volunteered for this, so it helps people get to know you, understand that, or see that you're kind of knowledgeable. It's not that I'm expecting when I volunteer to get something back, or when I ask for a meeting to get something out of it. It's more about giving, even though, sure, great, if one of you were to email me and say, hey, my uncle has $3 million he wants to invest in a film, that would be wonderful, and I encourage you to do that. But it's more about giving, because the more you give, the more people want to give to you, and also the more you learn along the way. So let's go on to partnership. Penelope and I have worked together now for almost 3 years, and and people ask a lot of times, like, how did you guys decide to work together, or why do you work together so well? And one day when someone asked me this, I wrote down these points. Actually, I said these points to the person, then I wrote down later what I had said. One of the things I value most about her, and I think that most people will in a work partnership and any personal partnership, is what I kind of alluded to earlier, is be willing to disagree. So if she doesn't agree with me, she tells me. If I don't agree with her, I tell her. Because you don't need someone who agrees with you all the time. That's not value added. You can agree with yourself all the time. On the flip side, though, you want to be able to reach an agreement at some point. Find the right balance between your two opinions, and that's the agree part. Be willing to communicate freely. Like I can never be thinking, oh, I don't want to say this film because she'll get mad, or she won't like it, or she'll disagree. I don't know what she's gonna think. Why should I tell myself that? I should just communicate with her and let her communicate back, and that's how it works for us. Very important is to treat each other as equals. Even if one person has more experience than the other, at least in producing, let's say, but know that both people bring value, and so work together as equals. Unless it's an arrangement in which one person is the boss, the other person not. I'm talking about partnerships here. So partners have to treat themselves as equals, and that really works well with us and other partnerships that I've observed. And yet complement each other, because one person will be stronger in certain areas and the other person will be stronger in other areas. So as long as those areas have little overlap, then you'll be stronger together when they're different areas. So for example, even though we were both good in business and in creative stuff, I lean towards the business side and she leans towards the creative side. So that's what each of us leads. And yet we check each other's work, we challenge each other's work, we make sure it's correct. And then also, some people thrive on competition, but for us, it's better, for me anyway, it's better support and don't compete with each other. Did I hear, Holly, were you coming on? Okay, maybe there's a question. And now these are actually a summary of a talk I gave on achieving your dreams. And make sure there's nothing, okay. I really, this is like how I try to lead my life. And it's, well, I'll just go through it. One is we tend to need to reprogram ourselves. We were programmed by our parents to survive, stay alive. They taught us ways to survive, but we really want to thrive. And so we have to reprogram a lot of the stuff that was safe and succeed more. And some of that is in attitude, like of course I didn't get it, or of course I got a bad parking spot, or of course I ended up being late. No, you got to change your courses and say, of course I won. Of course they want to work with me. Of course we were a success. It's just as easy to say that, and it changes our brain and our attitude and makes things actually happen better for us. And related to that is positive self-talk. I literally wake up every day and say to myself, today, how do I say it? It's a great day. I say it's a great day, and it always is in many ways. It's there are always great things that happen, and so say things positively. We tend to use negative words, even something that sounds positive, like never quit. I mean, that's never and quit. Those are two negative words, and yes, it's a double negative. And I get the math and how that turns out to be a positive. But how about always persevere, keep going? Those are more positive words. Or another example is, we can't do it without you. Well, we can't do it without you. So how about we can do it with your help? Just a more positive way of framing things. Celebrate what's already good. I said about waking up and saying it's a great day. At the end of every day, I try to look back and say, hey, what went well today? It was a sunny day. I woke up on time. I got to do this great talk. I had fun with whoever I talked to today. There are so many good things that happen, and bigger things. Oh, I had a great meeting. So-and-so is reading our script. Someone is funding our film. All those things, celebrate them every day, and it builds momentum, and it gets us, even the hardships become easier when you're looking at all the good that's happening in your life. The next one is choose to win. It's really, like I talked about, you get to decide if you'll succeed. This is very similar to that. We can, people win every day. Someone wins the lottery, not every day, but every couple of weeks. It has to be someone to win. How about you? You can win by just believing in yourself more, deciding to look at yourself in a different way. So we hear our fears, we hear our self-doubts, we hear our questions in our head all the time. People who look at us, they don't hear those things because they're not in our heads. I don't know how many of you have kids, but your kids look up to you like you're their hero. They don't know how afraid you are or how doubtful you are. Look at yourself the same way others look at you. Your parents, your friends, your classmates, your siblings. They look at you. We all are looked at by other people in a more positive way than we look at ourselves. Your dog. How does your dog look at you? You feed your dog. Your dog is like, wow, look what he did. He made food happen. Try to look at yourself that way too. But we still have to do the work. And we still have to do the work. Like, we can't just choose to win and Sandra Bullock is going to call me tomorrow and say, hey, I want you to do this film with me. I mean, she might, and that would be great. But to get that phone call, I have to have done a lot of work, preparatory work, to make stuff happen. So do the work. I certainly work 6 days a week and probably 12 to 14 hours a day, which doesn't sound fun, but I love my work, and I really rather do that than anything else. Not in a too geeky way. I mean, I am trying to be a balanced person. And finally, believe in yourself. This is the one, honestly, that takes the most practice. You have to believe, you have to keep reinforcing your self-belief every day, multiple times a day. because of our programming that I mentioned earlier, and just looking at society and seeing how things don't always work out. But focus on belief. You have to know just as certainly as you know the sun is going to rise tomorrow that you're going to succeed. It may not be when the sun comes up tomorrow, but it's a little bit will happen tomorrow, and it'll get you further. Walt Disney said, I'm going to toggle now to my quote that I was going to refer to. All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. And then Richard Bach, who wrote many great books. Let me see this quote from him. I want to find that. Sorry. I should have been a little more prepared, but it was basically, oh, here it is. You're never given a wish without also being given the power to make it true. You may have to work at it forever, however, not forever. And then there was one more great one. It was I think from Dr. Joyce Brothers said, success is a state of mind. If you want success, start thinking of yourself as a success. And I just love all those quotes there. I mean, it's how that's how I live my life. That's how I want you to live your lives. Everybody in an entrepreneurial business, whether it's a shoe shop or it's a CPA or it's an actor or it's a producer or a writer, they have to believe. And they succeed, we succeed when we believe in ourselves. And so those are the main messages I wanted to deliver today. You can find me easily in any of these ways, except for the one that says soon. We're just behind on getting our website recreated. But email me anytime if you have questions, if you I don't know, just want to tell me something, update me on what's going on in your life. Connect with me on LinkedIn. My email and my phone number is on LinkedIn. It's on IMDb. It's on Facebook. It's not hard to find me. I do welcome anybody's contact whenever you want. I'll leave that up there for a few minutes, but I want to go back to Holly now and see what she has to offer in terms of questions.
Yes. So it looks like we have a couple of questions from Ebony. She says, how did having a business degree shape your experience when starting your career in the entertainment industry?
I love that question because I feel like that's one of my unique strengths. Not unique meaning I'm the only one in the world, only producer in the world, but most producers come up on the creative side. They're actors, they were writers, they were directors. And one time, I don't do this to drop names, but I was in a meeting with Peter Berg, who directed Lone Survivor, Friday Night Lights, a whole bunch of good stuff. And he asked me, what's unique about you that if someone were to say, I'm looking for a producer, why would I think of you? And I gave it a moment's thought, and then I said, I have many years of corporate finance experience. So I know budgets, I know schedules, I know cost control, I know proposals, I know negotiations. All those things Ebony, I think, was that the correct name? But anyway, I don't want to wave that off. Your name's important, but those are the things that are strong. So having an MBA is very valuable because it teaches you the business half of producing. So when I became a producer, I was merging my business side. I'd been in corporate finance for a while, and with my creative side because I'd also had been doing some acting for a while. So this was like the perfect job to involve both sides of my brain, and I really love that about being a producer. At the time, people said, "Well, what would you rather do, be an actor or producer?" And at the time, I was thinking, "Oh, I love being an actor; it's like magical." But being a producer is like the only thing for me now. Like I'll still do what I call a cameo, and Penelope laughs at me and says, "It's not a cameo because cameos are famous people. You're not famous." But I still will do a little bit of acting because that is fun. But I love making things happen, is what your producer does. And to do that, you really have to have the business strengths. I was talking to a USC student a couple days ago, and she got accepted into both the the film program and the business program. And she chose the business side because that's what will make her more unique than all the people who go through the producing program. So I think it's smart. Now, if you can do both, great, but I think the MBA will set you apart more and give you skills that you need.
Great. We have Anna. She says, thank you for emphasizing confidence and perseverance. What are some organizational tools that you use to manage multiple projects? Is there software you suggest? Do you keep physical records along with records? Thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us.
I can't think of any questions, not a question, any software or tools like that. I imagine there are some out there. I just don't know them. I'm a little old school I don't do stuff on paper so much, but I use Word and Excel. I do organize a lot of stuff in Excel, but it's usually project by project. I don't have, and I should, good point, I should have like on a wall, here are my projects and here's what's going on with each of them. And I don't do that. And it's probably a good tip from you that I should think about that. Because right now I just have folders on my hard drive for each project. I do use I have a Word document on my desktop that has a list of stuff that I need to be doing. I do use paper to just write stuff as I'm talking. Oh, I got to send somebody that thing. But I really have been a little less organized than I'd like to be on, for example, keeping track of who's reading our scripts, which is a very important thing. And whether Penelope's following up or I'm following up, and when was the last time we followed up with them, and things like that. And yes, now both of us use Calendar, I think, for that. In my case, I guess it's Google Calendar. I don't think I use Outlook anymore. I think it's Google. Anyway, and when I've written to someone, I'll put like 3 weeks later on my calendar, follow up with so-and-so. So, I mean, that's not the best tool, but it's how I work. And I also work, my inbox is kind of how I manage my life. So those are not the greatest answers. I wish I was a better producer to give you a more helpful answer, but I can learn and I will improve on that. Sorry.
I guess it's working for you, Brian.
Okay.
So Megan is asking, do you have any suggestions for individuals interested in screenwriting who are not currently studying to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you have to study. Like, you don't have to go to a school to be a screenwriter, even though there are plenty of ways. You should always keep learning, whether that's through workshops or I read, I don't know, a dozen books on screenwriting before I put pencil to paper, fingers to keys. And because I wanted to learn everything I could and do the best job I could. I love the book Save the Cat. It's 15 years old now, so there's probably newer things, even though I think it's a still respected book. There are workshops. I went through a program, and so did Anne-Marie, that's a year-long mentorship at the Writers Guild for veterans. And it was an amazing program. I don't know if it's worth enlisting and spending 3 years in the Army just so you can join this program, but maybe. So I could recommend you do that. And then, so yeah, I think getting into a writers group, finding other writers that are willing to give you advice in exchange for advice from you, that's helpful. But it's really just doing the work, because a lot, I mean, I can't even tell you the percentage of writers who don't write, who don't make it a habit. And actually, I'm in that category. I don't write as often as I should. Yes, I'm mainly a producer, but I do have screenplays that I've written that I have to rewrite. Another one that I just started developing. I did not go to school to teach screenwriting. I mean, to learn screenwriting. I did teach it. I taught a class in screenwriting at Notre Dame, but that was from my producer knowledge, because like I said, I'd read so much about screenwriting. I'd gone to workshops on it and all sorts of things. So it was, I believe, a good class. I teach screenwriting every year at the Burbank Comedy Festival, which is still odd to me, but it's something I enjoy doing, and I think it goes well. So go to workshops, learn from other people, read as much as you can on it. There's online reading you can do. Screenwriting U is something I've heard a lot about, but I don't know anything firsthand about it. But there's some online classes, whether it's through Screenwriting U or any place else. So there are lots of ways to learn, but it's mainly you learn from writing and also from reading other screenplays. Read successful screenplays, especially in the genre you want to write and the format you want to write, whether it's TV or film. Read all those, and then you'll learn just from what you've read. But try not to go too far back in time, because just format things change and different conventions change. So try to stay as current as possible. Anything else?
Great. Yes, Ortal is asking.
What's the name?
Ortal.
Ortal. Oh, yes. I know her.
If I would like to produce my first ever project, for example, a short film, what would I have to think about? And what would be the first steps I'll have to take?
So Ortal is an actor, and so she's been on sets. She's seen how things operate on sets, and so she already takes some knowledge into it. If you were just waking up one day after being an accountant and decided to produce your first short film, I would say find someone else who's done it and partner up with them. And maybe I would say the same thing for Ortal. It does not hurt to do that, for sure. You don't have to do it alone. There's so much work to do in producing even a short film that it's good to have another producer. So best if you can find someone who is doing short films and would love to work with you. Make sure it's something you're passionate about, because even a short film takes many months to get done and requires some longevity in your interest in this project. Make sure you didn't mention if you have written it or if you're a writer of it. So if you're not a writer, make sure you get someone who's written it well or who can write it well for you and get what's in your head on the paper. And if you've written it yourself, get some honest, knowledgeable feedback from other people to make sure it's as good as it can be. And then, you've probably been on set enough times, you made some connections with people. Maybe you know a director that would be really good at this, or a DP, or an editor, or a costume person, or makeup person. So even if you don't know everything what I just said, if you could at least find that producer who knows other people, then make sure you surround yourself with people who are competent and qualified and can add to the project and help it be a success. And then after that, of course, you have to get it out to places like film festivals, or I'm not sure what you want to do with it. So maybe it's just a calling card that you're going to show to other people and say, look at my acting, look at my producing, look at my writing, whatever it happens to be. It doesn't have to go to festivals, but that is the common route. Hope that helps.
All right. And Trish is asking, are you hosting any workshop for producing or plan on it in the future?
I have a 2-hour more hands-on technical workshop that I do. I don't have any scheduled right now. I haven't really pursued. I've done it 4 times since the shutdown, and I kind of let it fall by the wayside a little bit in that I didn't have any groups that I did it for groups that I had been a part of or I was still a part of, and I offered it to them. So right now, I don't have any, but if the film group in your area would love to hear this presentation, not this one, but the more hands-on, more practical one, then have them reach out to me and we can set something up. Probably not designed for one-on-one, just for me to, in that case, have to send you the slides. But if there's a group I think you said you're in the Bay Area, up there's probably a bunch of filmmaking groups. Just have them reach out and we can set something up. I can't think of anyone who recorded it and has the recording available of those 4 groups. I don't think any of them did, so I can't offer that to you, but otherwise it is available. I'd be happy to do it.
And Brian, we're going to take our last question.
Okay, I'm going to take my contact information down and maybe I can see people. This
is from Mia. She wants to know, can you share anything on pitch decks? Oh,
okay. How ironic that I said, let me see people, and then Mia is a black box. So yeah, I mean, pitch decks is an art in itself. Not that it requires a lot of training, but so it depends. There are a couple types. There's a creative pitch deck, which you want to communicate the tone and the visuals, and if you're talking about TV, it might be a story Bible, which is even more extensive and detailed. Or if you're pitching to investors, there's completely a more business-oriented thing. It's maybe a lot more words and a lot more numbers and things like that. But either way, I would say limit the number of charts you have. A friend of mine sent me one 2 days ago, and it was 30 charts. I'm like, oh no! But the good thing was there were a lot of title cards in between. You're like, here's the next section, and so that was maybe, it wasn't half of them, it's probably a third of them, and then most of the rest of them were very concise. 4 words, 1 sentence, whatever it happened to be. And so it was an easy one, easy 30-slide pitch to get through. But it is kind of scary for someone else, if someone doesn't want to look and see what those slides are, to see 30 slides and think, oh, I'm not going to look at that right now. So keep it short. I would say 20 at the most. Try to keep it concise, each slide. You don't have to pack all information into it. I mean, presumably you would be talking a person through this. So, I mean, I've seen slides that just have a picture on it or a picture and a word, and then there's a 5-minute discussion of it. So it really depends on how it'll be presented or received. I would say also, start small and get bigger. So small is title, genre, format. So Scylla Dilemma is a sci-fi feature film. That's title, genre, format. That's the first thing. And then people go, okay, that interests me. Interesting title. I like sci-fi. I'm a film person. Now you got a little bit of interest in them, rather than saying, okay, so the first scene is this, and going through the whole story. So start small, and then and then get a little bit bigger. So the log line is probably next. And so you give a 1 or 2 sentence log line. And then they're saying, oh yeah, that sounds interesting. Tell me more. So then you go into the major beats. So maybe 5 or 6 beats. Here's the inciting incident, the decision the protagonist makes to go into Act 2, the midpoint, the fall, and then the climax. So 5 major plot points. So that's basically a synopsis, in other words, that is a paragraph, maybe 5 sentences. And then they're saying, oh, yeah, tell me more. So you could go into more detail on the plot, but I would shift then and talk about either the broader world or talk about the characters. And if it's more creative deck, you can start showing visuals of this is what I think it'll be. And maybe those are stills from other films that are like yours, tonally or even story-wise. And you might list, so you might have character descriptions. You might get into casting possibilities or who your director might be. If it's a business type of pitch, then you would probably want to have more about yourself, because you're trying to get someone to work with you, either financially or if it's a director or a production company, it's like you're the collaboration. So a bit about your experience and your partner's experience, the writer's experience. And if you have a director attached and it's not for the director, then what is the director's experience? And if it's a business type thing, you might also talk about comparable films. So how do I know this film is going to succeed because these other films that are like it had this much success? And comparable films can also be used to describe the tone. So this is like Lone Survivor meets American Sniper, or something like that. Now, some people consider that trite, but it's done very often. There's a little risk of that because maybe the person you're talking to didn't like the films that you're comparing it to. So be a little careful. Make sure you're picking really popular films that have done well. Like, don't pick a film that tanked. You don't want to talk about Anna Kendrick's Mr. Right. You don't say it's like Mr. Right, because that was probably her worst film. Not blaming her, just blaming the film. And please don't tell her I said that. Or tell her, call me and we'll talk it over. my phone number was there. So what, Mia, is that the kind of thing you were talking about, or did you want more creative stuff, like a show Bible, series Bible? We're going to take that.
Mia, if you'd like.
What's that?
She can unmute if she'd like.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much for that. I'm in particular looking at a half-hour sitcom pitch.
Okay.
So I'm just gathering ideas and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Any Bibles you've come across that you thought were good examples, or have you done any that you can share? Or
I have not done any Bibles because we're TV. We're not TV. We're a film, and it's not really a film thing. But I will say one really important thing about a sitcom Bible is it has to be funny. So when you're thinking about a pitch, it's more business stuff. You got to make people laugh. You got to make them laugh from the start, and you have to keep them laughing. So, and I know you're funny if you've written a sitcom. So take that funny and put it into your Bible. So but there are a lot of Bibles just available. If you would Google sitcom Bibles, I bet you could find a bunch. And I don't want to deflect your question. It's just that I don't know. I haven't seen those things. I've seen some Bibles, and people send me Bibles to look at, and which I don't enjoy. But anyway, so I've seen a bunch, and I just, it's not my strength. I just know that I've been in writers groups, and they said, oh, here's some great sources for Bibles, and they give these websites. And so I know they're out there, and I think just, an hour or two of searching, and you'll find what you need. And you can, I don't want to say plagiarize, but you can just copy what they've done format-wise. And if it's a sitcom, like if you can find the Big Bang Bible, great. That's something to copy directly. Or The Good Place. Some of these are just, just pick some successful. You might even just go Google The Good Place Story Bible and see if it comes up. If you put The Good Place Bible, you might get all kinds of religious stuff, which I'm not judging that. I'm just saying it's not what you're looking for. So,
get it.
All right. Hope that helps.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Right. That was amazing. Thank you so much. I can tell you really love what you do.
I do.
And the positive attitude definitely has gotten you to a great place. So, Brian, thank you so much for spending almost an hour with us. Everyone, I would highly recommend that you take advantage of his offer to continue the conversation and connect. What an incredible resource. I thank you guys for spending your time with us on behalf of One Day Immersion, our team. We really appreciate your support and hope to see you again on other sessions. But Brian, thank you. Well done. And everyone stay safe, wear that dang mask, and we'll get through this together.
I want to emphasize what Dolly just said, not about the mask, but about reaching out to me, because I was in a mentoring session with a bunch of people, and the main speaker was the president of production at Skydance, which makes all the big action movies. And he said, I want all of you to write to me, and I know none of you will, but please write to me, and we'll set up a meeting. And I was going to write to him anyway because I do that. But the fact that he said nobody will really struck me, because we welcome that. Not that I'm president of production at Skydance, but we welcome hearing from you, and it makes us feel good to give advice, and makes us. I thrive on that. It really feeds my soul. So please do if you want to, and if you don't want to, then that's fine too. So, but either way, I wish you all well, and thank you again.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.